Unnamed Sportsbook currently has Ashton Jeanty as a favorite to go to the Raiders at -105. The next teams on the list are the Bears in second, Cowboys third, Saints fourth, and Jaguars fifth. The Raiders are picking seventh overall. They're seventh, right? Or are they six? Let me just.
I thought they were eight.
No,
they're six. You're right.
They're six. Okay,
so I knew they were even. I forgot.
So the Raiders at number 6 overall would be taking Jeanty, and it's been kind of fun watching him soar up these draft boards. Where originally people were saying maybe he goes in the early 20s, then it was Dallas at 12. Now we're all the way up to Las Vegas at 6. Jack would hate that take with drafting a running back high. But when you do look at running backs recently taken in the first round, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think Najee Harris. Say what you want about him, but consistently goes for over 1,000 yards. A lot of the running backs taken in the first round recently have been very good players. And when you look at those Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs picks, I think transformative players for the offenses that they're on. 2 questions for you, Ziggy. One, do you think that Jeanty going at 6 is too high for him? And second, for the Raiders, do you think that that's the right approach to combating Mahomes and Herbert and Sean Payton and the offenses that the offensive minds they're going against and talents is build up that defense and strengthen the running game as opposed to trying to build out a dynamic passing attack and outscore them?
One of the things I think people don't often think about, especially in the early first round of the NFL draft, is that guys get paid a fair amount of money if you're taking them very early, and the salary falls off very, very quickly. So this year, if you're taking number 6 in the NFL draft, you'll be making about $8 million a year. If you're taking 12, you'll be making just under $5 million a year. So there's a huge drop off in terms of how much you're paid. Now, why am I talking about that? I think especially in a position like running back, you have to look and think about whether or not he's not just providing value, but providing value relative to the amount you're paying. If you're drafting Ashton Jeanty at number 6, you're going to be paying him from day one like a top 10 running back before he's done anything in the NFL. Meanwhile, if you take him at like 12 or 13 or wherever he's being projected, you'll be paying him in like the 20s to 30s. So that's already sort of one thing to think about. It's just, is he producing the value? Now, setting that aside, I know people don't want to talk numbers too much. Is that what makes sense for the Raiders? The Raiders are a weird team in that clearly they're trying to compete, right? They traded for Geno Smith. They gave Max Crosby that huge extension. That's not necessarily what I would have done if I were managing the team, but that's the direction they're going. So insofar as you want to compete, I can see the desire to add a lot of talent. The thing I think, though, is just if your draft pick hits, if Ashton Jeanty hits, he's producing for you at the level of like a $10 to $12 million a year play, like what Josh Jacobs is doing for the Packers right now. On the other hand, if you take an edge rusher or a tackle when they hit, they're producing for you at the level of a $30 million a year player, even more. So I just don't think very early in the NFL draft, no matter what you think about Ashton Jeanty, and let's not forget, there have been plenty of running backs taken early in the rounds of the NFL draft, early in the first round that just haven't produced nearly what people thought they would. And they were all surefire guaranteed hits too. It's revisionist to go back and say they weren't.
Yep.
I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Raiders to do that. That team has so many needs at so many different positions. I get that Raiders fans, like last year, like the year before, see themselves as a sneaky contender for the AFC West, the team that can go on a run. I just want to see a little bit more talent here. I don't want Christian Wilkins, who can't play and is no good, being the third best player on my team.
It's, I think you said a lot of really...
Sorry, producer Zach.
Yeah, sorry, Zach. I think you said a lot of really interesting things there, Ziggy, about Jeanty. One of them, with the money that he'd get at 6 is pretty high. But another thing about taking the running back early, again, as someone who grew up rooting for Adrian Peterson, I think that I probably overvaluate
Hey, if he's going to be Adrian Peterson, you should take...
No, yeah. But I mean, you can't expect that. But I'm saying I think I've always kind of overrated maybe the running back position because I grew up and that was the only thing we had. Christian Ponder was throwing for 60 yards against the Seahawks and Peterson would have 200. It was basically flipped, the passing stats and the rushing stats for those Vikings teams. So I always like having a stud running back. I do believe that they change teams. A lot of people don't right now. But I think you saw that come back a little bit more this season. As far as the Raiders go, though, it's if you think he's going to be Gibbs or Bijan, which I'd imagine they would think he's going to be if you take him at 6.
Whether or not that's rational is a different question.
Yes, that's exactly the point here. And I look at where the Raiders are right now, and I'm with you. I understand what they're trying to do. They are trying to take a team that's been really bad for a really long time and just get back to playing competitive football, to competing for wild card spots. I mean, they're hoping the division, but it's probably a stretch with the Chiefs. Like you said, I don't know if that's the way I would have gone, because I think your ceiling's capped. Like, you're not winning the Super Bowl with Geno Smith. So drafting Ashton Jeanty here, again, you're already taking a guy who's how old is Jeanty? Is he 21, 22, right?
Yeah, he's not old.
So he's not old, but the prime years of Jeanty are going to be the next 4 or 5 years probably. If you're already taking 2, maybe 3 of them with Geno, it's kind of like I would have just blown it up and tried to start over and find your quarterback. But given that the Raiders are where they are, yeah, I think it probably makes a little more sense to go with a stud tackle or a stud defensive player and build up in that regard, so that those guys who probably will last a little bit longer than Jeanty are in their primes when you're saying, okay, now we just need the quarterback. To me, the running back, like the Lions were in perfect position where they had someone they could take and it was going to push them all over the top with Bijan or with Jahmyr Gibbs. You had an electric player. With Jeanty, it feels like, I don't know. I don't really love the fit for him in Vegas as much. I don't know if that's the best thing for Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, a great running back, insofar as they transform your offense, they're force multipliers. Right, Derrick Henry wasn't able to carry the Titans to anything, but he was very effective with the Ravens. Mm-hmm. Saquon Barkley couldn't do anything for the Giants. When he went to the Eagles, he was transformative. Josh Jacobs couldn't do anything with the Raiders, made a big difference for the Packers. You know, it's funny that you talk about Adrian Peterson being your experience. My experience with sure thing running backs, the first year I started watching football was 2017. You remember what running back went number 4 surefire thing in that draft?
Surefire thing number 4 in 2017?
In the 2017 NFL draft. The guy everybody thought was going to transform a mediocre offense.
2017.
David Johnson.
No, this was our freshman year of college, right?
Yeah.
Or this was our senior year of high school.
This was we just graduated. So we were entering into college.
We're entering into college.
The fact that you don't remember.
No, wait. Dalvin Cook was drafted that year. Who was drafted with Dalvin? Kamara was in that draft, right?
Yeah, it wasn't them, obviously.
No, it wasn't Dalvin. Wasn't Kamara. Wasn't this the?
I'll tell you, Christian McCaffrey was in this draft, but he was not the first running back selected.
Oh my gosh, who was in that draft? Why can't I remember this? Fournette? Was he in there?
Yeah, it was Leonard Fournette. He went number 4. He was a surefire thing. He was going to transform the Jaguars.
I mean, he did transform the Jaguars. You can't say.
He was good for them for 1 year when they went to the AFC Championship and then couldn't get a second contract, became a bum, stole a ring from the Buccaneers.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette, I think, had a solid.
Leonard Fournette.
No disrespect. You just called him a bum.
Yeah, I apologize for that, Leonard. You were better than that, but you were not worth the number 4 overall pick.
But
you look at players you could have drafted instead of him, right? Like Patrick Mahomes, Marshawn Lattimore, Hassan Reddick, Deshaun Watson, Marlon Humphrey, Jonathan Allen. Like there were TJ Watt went at the end of that round.
Well, I mean, had you taken
many players you could have taken, you didn't need Leonard Fournette.
Had you taken a McCaffrey or maybe even a Dalvin Cook or a
Christian
Kamara,
McCaffrey wouldn't done anything on the Jaguars either.
Well, yeah. So I think this is the whole point here that we're kind of saying is I think Ashton Jeanty might be great. But I don't know I don't think he's the right fit for what Vegas needs right now.
Here's what will happen if the Raiders draft him. Ashton Jeanty will be a transformative player on the next team he lands on. Like he'll be good of the Raiders. They won't go anywhere, right? Maybe they'll make the playoffs with Geno if they have a good year. And then eventually he's going to get fed up and asked out and they'll let him go. Maybe they'll franchise tag him. Maybe they won't. And then he'll be great with whatever contender he lands.
Yeah, I mean, he'll
go to the Bears with prime Caleb Williams. They'll win 3 Super Bowls.
I don't know about that, but the Bears. But yeah, that's where the interesting debate comes. Where if you think he's going to be good, there's probably a lot of Raiders fans who are like, well, if you guys think he's going to be really good, we want him on our team. I just think that they need to. There are other places that they should build up on. I just don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. And maybe this just goes back to me being unfair about the Geno signing. Like I don't mind it. I don't mind being competitive, but I think you're in the industry of winning Super Bowls. So it's good to be competitive and get back there. And look, maybe too, the other thing, like this Geno thing is probably 2 years with the Raiders, really? He's probably going to go on for 2 years.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean,
so if you have Genty and you find your guy over these next 2 years, then it could all come into play. I don't want to make it sound like, I don't think Genty is a horrible pick. On draft night, I'm not going to sit up here and say they messed up, because I think he could be a really, really good player.
But the Raiders next year, there's only one team with a lower win total than that.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns. Like, they're not expected to do anything. So I don't think going all in on this is our year makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
at least the Bears,
they'll take
you can
Genty.
sort of imagine that he's going to transform your offense. I don't think he will, but I can see the thinking there. The Cowboys, whatever the Cowboys are, I never understand anything they're doing. But yeah.
Well, the Raiders will take him. The Raiders will take Genty. Like that's probably going to happen.